I never take it this way just because I sold X amount of apps last year, and I know I tease about the award and stuff like that, but I want to be better than that. If I can do 2,800 apps in 1 year, and I learn one word from Steven Stark or whoever that allows me to go there. That's why you go to conferences, right? That's why we get in these circles like this, because it's the one word or 2 words that you implement that changes everything. Okay, I'm a big believer in that. I've seen it in my own life. So start. I'm going to pretend like I'm a T65 sitting in front of you, because that's what everybody likes, is the T65 ones. Okay, so we'll start there. Let's do a short down version of it, just because I want to be able to go to a rewrite as well, because we got some new agents here. Okay. So I sit down with you. Just call me Mr. Billy or something like that. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna let you. I've sat in your office, now you go from there.
Well, Mr. Billy, I'm glad you come in today. So could you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where are you from?
Sure. Well, I live over there in Pontotoc County. I've been married for about 62 billion years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've been married for a long time, and we got the old ball and chain with me, and I'm retiring from a local furniture factory there. I just got my Medicare card in. You're going to hear that a lot. Just got my Medicare card in. And just to be honest with you, Justin, I really don't know what to do. I don't know this A and B stuff, and I'm depending solely on you to lead me and guide me.
Absolutely. So I may sound biased, but I do think you made the great choice of coming to the Medicare Gurus.
Well, just so you'll know, a friend actually referred me.
Well, that's awesome.
You guys
know who it was?
Really His name was Billy too.
Billy
number 2.
Billy number 2.
That's great.
Billy number 2.
I just want to call Billy number 2 and tell him thank you for to bringing you here. But no, really today, so my job is to make this as simple and smooth and as stress-free as possible.
Okay.
And so we're a broker. That means we partner with 30+ carriers to see what's the best fit for you. So today what I'm going to do is give you the most simple version of Medicare that I can. So tell me, how much do you know about Medicare?
To be honest with you, all I know is I got this red, white, and blue card in the mail.
Yes, correct.
It says Part A, Part B. I brought it with me.
Yes.
And I'm just going to see if you can help me go through all of it and kind of...
Yeah, I sure can. So I'm a visual learner. Okay. So I'm actually going to draw out what your Medicare is going to look like. It's really this simple.
Yeah. And could you draw it on the big board over here? Can somebody get the big board over here? Let me just say something real quick, because we're going to kind of go in and out of role playing here.
Good. I could.
You need to learn the people's name. Because when you say their name over and over and over again, it makes them feel important and special. So write it down. Write it down. Write their name. I'm a big believer that you don't want to ask a person the same thing 15 times. What's your social again? What's your date of birth again? What's your name again? You don't want to do that. We have agency block now. Stephen has graciously set that up. You need to be putting an agency block. But like someone like me, sometimes I forget that. I have to write the name down, because you don't want to be saying, you want to be able to call them by their name. There's something about when you call their name multiple times in the meeting that it just gives them this sense of pride, okay? So Billy, T65, Pontotoc, Mississippi, referred by Billy number 2. I don't know much about Medicare, and then you're going to go in your visual presentation.
I'm going to skip the Rapport Building. I do a lot. I'm very conversational, so I'm going to skip over that so you can see the presentation.
And let me say that everybody's Rapport Building is going to be a little different. I'm a guy that pretty much, you know, I mean, we're going to snuggle for about 2-3 minutes, and then we're going to move on. But I get away with that because that's my personality. I'm able to do that. If you need to do it a little bit longer, do that, but don't get too lost in the weeds in that cuddling and snuggling moment, right? Build the rapport, but then also be bold enough to make the transition, because you're there to get them the best coverage, right? We're not there to talk about fishing and bass fishing for 2 hours, right? So everybody's different in that. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say this. I'm skipping this part. Billy is my grandfather's name. Pontotoc is where I'm from. I'm going to talk about that until he sits back in his chair and relaxes. That's what I do every single time I find something. But I'm skipping that.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Billy, today what I'm going to do is draw out Medicare.
Okay.
It's made up of 4 major parts.
Okay.
And it really is this simple, and my job is to explain it in such a way that it makes sense that it's this simple.
Okay.
So, you know you have your A and B, right?
Right, that's the red, white, and blue card that I got.
Could I see that card, please?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you. And so, that's your, and I'm sitting it on the A and B. So, that's your Medicare Part A and B.
Okay.
So, I'm going to set this here for just a moment. So, it functions as an 80-20 plan.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Kind of like work insurance.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So this 20% would be what you pay.
Okay.
Now, to make this simple, it's actually just a few dollars higher than this. Your Part A has a deductible, and then your Part B has a deductible. But when everything is done and said and done today, your $203 deductible is the only one that you'll have to worry about. I'm going to take care of that for you.
Okay, so let me tell you this, because my friend Billy's been on Medicare for 3 years, and he said he doesn't have to pay nothing. He takes his red, white, and blue card, and he takes this other card, and he says he's never had to pay anything. So what kind of plan does he have?
It's called a Plan F, and we're going to get to that in just a moment.
Okay, gotcha.
But I want to put it into context first.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't want to confuse you. So, but this is how it makes sense to me. But then you also know that you need a drug plan, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So, and have you seen Joe Namath on TV at all?
I have, and it's very annoying.
This is exactly what he talks about. I'm drawing a triangle for him.
Okay.
All right. So today, it's that simple. Outside of that, you pay your monthly bill, and the rest is taken care of.
Okay.
I'll go over the smaller details in just a moment.
Okay.
So then you have your prescription drug plan, right?
Right.
And then you want to make sure you have a cancer plan that is attached to your drug plan. I'll go over the why behind that in just a moment. And then you also want to make sure that we address your life insurance needs, because most people coming off of group coverage actually have a form of life insurance. Unfortunately, not everybody can take that with them when they leave.
Okay.
So that's a big deal to most people. It's a big deal to you too, right?
Right.
Okay, and so the last thing that I would want to talk to you about, and it's not necessarily the last thing, but the last major component of your Medicare would be your dental, vision, and hearing needs.
Okay.
All right. At this
So are
point,
you telling me that Medicare does not cover dental, vision, or hearing?
Not unless it's medically necessary. So no. For most people's needs, no. You need to take that out separately. The only way that you would have any dental, vision, or hearing benefits is if we talk about what Joe Namath talks about.
So let's take a quick break here. Steve-O, you want to chime in on anything that you kind of see, feel weird about it? No. Any questions before we go on? Ready to feel good about it? Is this helping you?
Yes.
Okay, helping you. Jackson, I know you've been here for about a month, right? Holt, is this, where's Holt? No. I'm going to be bad. Okay. Right? Okay. All right, let's continue on.
So right here, I'm getting out of the weeds, and I'm going to bring it back to feeling safe and secure. So that's what I do every single time. So, Mr. Billy, so now that we're taking a second, do you have any questions?
No, not really. Only one thing that I keep hearing about this Medigap plan. And is the Medigap plan the same as the Medicare supplement plan?
That's a great question, and it is. So it's just a term saying that we fill in the gaps. Gap meaning your out-of-pocket costs.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's the same as a supplement.
And time out real quickly, you'll hear that quite frequently, because you'll get some people that have heard this Medigap plan and they want to know, they want the good Medigap plan, but they don't want the Medicare supplement plan. Right? And I mean, it's funny, and I know it sounds silly, but you'll be surprised how many times you'll hear it. That's why I wanted to say that.
So to be even more clear, we could even do this, Medigap.
Okay.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, I feel good about it.
All right, so now that we went through what this route will look like, I want to touch base on this because what Joe is talking about is really important, but for a lot of people, this is the better coverage. It's the most comprehensive and most convenient coverage. The quick version of what Medicare Advantage is, and that's what Joe talks about on TV.
Sure, yeah. We see that commercial 100 times a day.
Right. So then, here's the easy version. It combines these benefits and these benefits into one convenient package.
Okay.
So there are pros and cons to both sides. So right now, Mr. Billy, we're looking at two major routes to Medicare.
Okay.
This route, and I'm going to use this acronym, okay? It says MAPD, Medicare Advantage Prescription Drugs.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep, so far.
All right, so this will be your prescription drug plan.
Okay.
And then it also has a small amount, a really small amount of dental and vision, okay? And it has a little bit of hearing benefits. So and I'm going to go ahead and address something that a lot of people are concerned about. It does not replace your Medicare.
Okay.
It restructures how it operates.
Okay.
That's it. How it functions is different.
Okay.
So the easy way that me and Stephen, we like to call him the Medicare professor, we like to say it this way. This is a prepaid plan. You pay your bill, it pays the bills for you, minus a couple of those gaps or out-of-pocket expenses.
Okay.
This one here is a pay-as-you-go plan. You don't pay anything except on the upgrades, which are really important. I'm about to go over it, unless you go. Okay. So, same situation as over here. You want to attach the cancer plan to your drug plan.
Okay.
And then you want a hospital indemnity plan. That's a fancy insurance term. The easy version is this. This is your primary. This is your secondary.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And then if you wanted to add your life insurance and then the dental and vision, if you needed extra coverage, that's what that would look like.
Yeah. Let me pause here for you new guys too. Don't hate on this part right here, because the more that you can write that down, it's going to help you not be scared to present that on the back end. Does that make sense? I say it this way. These are the nuts and bolts: the Medicare supplement, the DVH, and the PDP. And I know I have my sayings about the pillows in the chair, and I say nuts and bolts a lot, right? I call the plan the Cadillac plan. I just talk like normal people talk, you understand? But use this, because if you write it down, it's visual for the client, it helps you, and you'll be surprised how much confidence you will gain just by having it down. But I say, Mr. Billy, these are the nuts and bolts: your Medigap plan or Medicare supplement, your DVH plan, and your prescription drug plan. These are the nuts and bolts of Medicare. Okay? But then I go, but we strongly recommend this and this as well because of this. Does that make sense? Okay? So,
I did that in the last 265 I had, and they loved it.
okay.
The nuts and bolts?
No,
This,
draw it
yeah.
out like this.
You see what I'm saying? Because what happens is, and this is, and I'm telling on myself because I'm such a, I guess, oral communicator in this sense. Sometimes I get away from this and I hurt myself on the app count. You'll be surprised how much this will help you on your app count when you draw it out. Okay, and I know Stephen and we're going to be working on getting some pre-stuff done, and that's come down the pipeline. But so don't hate on this, and make sure that you use this. So for the sake of time, let me ask you this, Justin. I understand everything you said, but let me ask you this: if I was your dad,
They asked me that.
if I was your dad, which one do you think would be the best situation for me?
Okay, so that's a great question. And as it stands, you're just turning 65. So right now, this is the best route for you.
Okay.
At some point, we will maybe want to look at this, because here's the only downside to this. Your supplement or Medigap plan has, on average, about a 5% increase every year. It's going to go up a little bit. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just the way things are.
Okay.
However, we can minimize that by looking at the plan in, and that's what I would recommend for my own father.
So let me pause there. Stephen, how would you say that? Just a different verbiage about, not saying the downside is bad, you're being honest there, but is there a terminology you use that in that moment, talking about the increases?
Yeah, so I tell them, no matter what, there's going to be a rate increase,
Okay.
and that's strictly because this is based on age. So every company is going to give you a rate increase annually by age, and that's usually going to come around your policy anniversary date.
Okay.
And we like to go with companies that are traditionally lower on the rate increases, and that's why I've recommended blank
Okay.
for you today.
So while we're in this moment, can you talk about the rate increases, the community age rating, and the actual age, community and the age?
Yeah, so that's something that I actually get into a lot more when
Yeah.
we call nationally, and I'm dealing with some of these leads just because they're a little bit more, they're doing a lot of research themselves, and so it seems like they bring it up a lot when they're doing a lot of research because they're coming across this online when they're Googling and just reading about supplements. So some states are attained age. Most states are attained age, meaning, as you age every year around your policy anniversary date, you're going to get that increase based on your age.
Yeah.
Of course, there are other factors that we know go into it. I don't never get into that with the clients. I just tell them it's based on age. Of course, there is some profit to loss and ratios that they account for on the other end to go into them rate increases. But again, I just leave it at it's based on your age. And then if they ask about community rating, I say, well, traditionally there's only one company that does community rating, and that's AARP. And by community rating, that just simply means that everybody on that plan is grouped into a age block. So everybody between 65 and 75 is getting the same rate increases year after year. So what that does is maintain your rates right now, but on the back end you may have higher rates, because of that. So you're going to get lower rate increases year after year on a community rated plan, but you're going to pay more initially. And so that's usually how I phrase that to them. And again, some people dig and dig and dig, and they're trying to get to the bottom of that, and there's no real bottom of it. It's just some companies do community rating, and then you have to be aware that there are states that are community rated states, so all the community ratings will be you know, every carrier will go by a community rating in that state. So, but again, it's not something I get it too far in the weeds, because you can lose somebody if you dig too much into it. I try to keep it simple and tell them it's based on age. These are based on age groups of people.
And the reason I wanted him to do that is because I know we're doing a little training today. Maybe some of those watching the Gurus group didn't know that. I didn't even know that for a long time when I worked here. Right, Zach? Do you say anything in that moment about?
Most people around here don't ask about community rating.
Okay. All right. Didn't know if you had ever addressed that or how you addressed it.
I had somebody ask about it once. I had to come ask Stephen.
Yeah, well, I think what he's referring to is not necessarily the community rating versus attained age, but the fact that how do you address that there will be rate increases?
I just say it's based on the age.
Okay.
Because around here, like you said, most people don't go digging too much. So you just say it's going to go up around your anniversary based on your age.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we talked about a few days ago for some of you newer guys, maybe even some of you guys that are not so used to selling this. You got to just be the authority, right? People go in the direction that you lead them, right? So if I lead them into the weeds, guess where they're going to go with me? Into the weeds, right? And everybody knows me, I hate the weeds, okay? So I don't lead them into the weeds. I keep them here. Yep, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Billy, there will be rate increases. I cannot get away from that. It's just one of those facts of life. You understand that? And they're like, oh yeah, just like taxes. And, you know, yes. Okay, so I'm a very humorous guy when I'm talking to people, and if you find ways to associate that, it's not an issue. Every once in a while, 1 to 2% of the time, you'll get that anal person that just won't let it go, and that's when you send them to Stephen's office. Okay?
But I mean, honestly, like I try to take that and use it as a selling point.
Sure.
Like, so every company's going to give you that rate increase, but I picked this company specifically because we know that their rates are going to go up at a lower increase per, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what comes.
So y'all are a little heavier on the Medigap med-sub side.
Right.
At what point is the MAPD a better fit for somebody than the med-sub?
Okay. So let's reverse it real quick and then we'll come back, okay? So let's say, for instance, I say, Mr. Billy, or Justin, listen, my friend has this MAP something over here, right? And this is what I want.
Okay.
So tell me why it's good for me.
Okay, so Mr. Billy, this is how I would explain it. So your friend has this, and it's like a pay-as-you-go plan.
Okay.
But if you do the math on it, at some point you're probably going to want to swap to this, but starting out,
okay,
I'm going to recommend this. I'm telling you, this is what you need to do.
But he says he's getting this for $0.
Because he is. And so it's $0, but how often do you go to the doctor, Mr. Billy?
To be honest with you, I'm a diabetic, so I probably go about once every 3 months to check my sugar level, my blood, and I take that lisinopril and that I got a little touch of COPD and you know, things like that.
Do you take insulin? And
I don't take insulin. I take a sugar pill. They call it a sugar pill.
Metformin.
Metformin. That's it. Metformin.
Okay, so to be straightforward, and I know I'm supposed to avoid that language. Forgive me, Justin. All right, so here we can protect you from some of the out-of-pocket costs, and at this point, time out. At this point, this is where I take out whatever company I'm just going to put them on. If I'm doing this, I'm going to explain the out-of-pocket cost, and if I think the situation is better for this, he's going on this before I'm done. But if he's wanting this and will not budge, that's where I'm putting it.
Okay, so let me answer your question directly. The reality is you're the advisor. So even if somebody says, this is what I want to go on because of this, they don't really know. He's only doing that because his friend Billy number 2 has that. But Billy number 2 is not the Medicare advisor and the professional.
Sure.
He is.
And the term I like to use a lot is, you know, Billy, sometimes the least expensive plan is going to turn into the most expensive plan for you because there's a lot higher potential maximum out of pocket on this plan. So you may save money initially, but worst case scenario, you're going to be out of pocket a lot more money than if he was on the other plan.
Please say that again, man. Please say that. We just went to Medicare Church right there. Say that again. That's the one phrase right there, the gold nugget for today. Will you say that again, Steve-O?
I don't even remember
the
what
one.
No, but yeah. So you tell him, Mr. Billy, sometimes the least expensive plan for you is going to turn into the most expensive plan, and the reason for that is there's a lot of potential out of pocket on this plan. So let's just say worst case scenario, heaven forbid you have a heart attack. On this plan over here, you're going to be out of pocket $203. On this plan, you're going to be out of pocket $7,500.
Bro, that's gold. Okay.
There you go.
That's
Cheap
cool.
as no.
Now here's how
Right.
I would
It's
put
not.
In
it.
this case.
Here's how I would put it, just because I'm a little bit simple. That's even better the way he's put it. I'll say, Mr. Billy, let me ask you something. I had an old man one time in my church tell me that good tools ain't cheap and cheap tools ain't no good. Would you agree with that? Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? In other words, this is what I'm trying to say. So find it. This is Stephen's terminology, because you see how believable he was? Because he is. He believes it. You got to find to say this in the way that you believe it, because it's true, right? So even though I may want this, don't always take the easy sale, because the reality is this could turn into five apps over here where this only turned into 2. So you actually shortchange yourself when you take that road of least resistance sometimes, okay? So when is it going to be good for someone? In my opinion, I only put someone on this.
They can't pass underwriting.
Say it again?
If they can't pass underwriting.
They can't pass underwriting.
Well, if they're 65.
Well, they're 65, but yeah, we'll get to that, okay? But I only put people on this when they're turning 65 in a couple of routes, which this gets into the lasso weeds, but we won't today, is if they're extremely healthy and they're very budget conscious, I'm still going to try to go to Plan N, me personally, okay? But if they're just pushing for that affordability and don't want to do all this, then I'll put them here. But you ask them questions like how many times you go to the doctor, what kind of medicines are you taking, we need to make sure their doctors are in the networks. Now we have network issues over here. So there's a lot of challenges over here that we have to look at. Or we run into a lot of rewrites, and all of you have been there that so far, most of you, is we run into rewrites that if they're paying $400 or $375 a month, and I can put them on this and this, let's just say for $100, okay, but they're paying $375 plus, and there's no way they're going to get underwritten, I'm going to show them on paper how much I can save them, and why not redirect some of this premium and put it in a savings account, that way for a rainy day if it happens. But here's the challenge, Holt, because I know you're new. The challenge is, I like to tell people, this is like having comprehensive car coverage, this is like having liability car coverage. Which one do you like to have? Comprehensive. Do you see what I'm saying? I find ways to put it to where they understand. Mr. Billy, this is like having comprehensive car coverage. This is like having liability coverage. They're both going to work and cover you in a wreck. Okay? But Mr. Billy, which one would you like to have? 99% of the time they say comprehensive. So let's get them on a Plan N. So sometimes you have to put them here. Like I had a couple that was paying $900 in premium between the both of them over AEP. I put them on this with a HIT plan, filled in the gaps, and they were barely paying about $225, $250. We were saving them $8,400 a year. To me, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, Stephen, do you have anything you want to chime in? Or?
No,
Okay.
I usually, every time someone asks me, I say it boils down to a simple math problem. Because it really is. You know, Billy, if you can't afford this med sub premium today, how are you going to afford the $7,500 maximum out of pocket? You know, if they're really giving you pushback. And you were asking, at what point do I go that way? When they tell me they can't afford that. I cannot buy milk if I'm paying for all this.
And you get that every once in a while.
Yeah, then I'm like, okay, well, this may be a better option for you. I would never recommend that for someone turning 65, but if they're telling me I can't afford anything, my Social Security check's $700, well, then I'm probably going to say, you need to get you on a D-SNP plan, you know. And it comes to a point where we have programs based on your income, so sir, if you're really hurting that bad, we need to go the extra mile and apply for some more programs.
And that's when Johnny heard you say D-SNP from your office all over his office. He's like, D-SNP, I'm on it, I got it, right? Go ahead, what are you saying?
Okay, so one thing is if they're having an issue with your total price, ask them how much their group coverage it was. Usually it's pretty close to that or more. And at that point, I use this phrase every single time, and I don't ever have any issues. I'll say, my job is to protect your bank account. That's what this does. That's the whole point of insurance, is to protect your bank account. And at that point, they're starting to see that this is a long-term approach to save their money. Even though it's costing $210 or whatever. I made this up. This is not even good math, okay? So I know somebody's going to analyze this.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I know I'm putting you on the spot a lot, but just because I want different perspectives. When you're somebody and they want to go this route, what is something that you say in that moment? Do you have some? Have you had a lot of those?
I use a lot of the same stuff y'all do.
Okay.
Comprehensive, liability.
Okay.
This is going to give you more coverage. This is, it's
Okay.
pay as you go, but you potential to pay a whole lot more if you go to the doctor a lot.
And Holt and some of the newer agents that are here, maybe someone's watching the video later, when he's talking about out of pocket, is your insurance at school, because you're a teacher, right, has a max out of pocket. Your MAPDs are generally around here between that 6,500 to about 7,500 range, okay? So they have to take that into consideration. In other words, if I'm going to go to the hospital or something's going to happen to me this year and I had $50,000 in medical bills, I could be responsible for whatever that amount is. I'm just using an amount that I'm making up here, right? That's something that they have to be aware of. A lot of times, as soon as you mention that, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread over here, right? And put them on a plan in if it's a budget-wise. But like Steven said, sometimes you're going to have those people that are only making $700, $800 a month, and they're like, man, a third of my check's going to go here. I cannot do that. Okay, and if you've exhausted every means and you've done the best for them, then we come over here and we start stacking this way, right? Is this helping?
Yes.
Any questions? You got any questions real quick in this moment?
Well, the obvious to me is that you're staying away from the Plan C.
Mm-hmm.
That's last resort.
It is the last resort. Ethically, we need to address it, right? We need to give them both options. But what happens is, right now, this is still the best route for them in their area. I know we have people watching the video.
Part C, not Plan C.
Yeah, excuse me, Part C. What's going to happen is we have people in the video that in their area, it's heavy that way. And they lead this way like 90% of the time. And that's okay. But in our area, in the culture that we live in, this is the best route for them at this period in time. Okay?
One other, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, to add on to what he's saying is, like, yeah, there are areas in the country where they have, 40 Medicare Advantage plans available, and some of them maximum out of pockets, $1,000, $1,200.
Right.
So it's hard to say, well, you should be paying, $1,500 a year for a MedSup rather than getting this zero premium plan that's giving you $1,000 maximum out of pocket. Well, at that point, that does sound a lot better, so I'm gonna go that
And
route.
Nolan lived in an area like that where it was like the land of milk and honey of Advantage plans.
Yeah,
Am I right?
One supplement, and that's only because she twisted my arm pretty bad. So, yeah, so that was in Vegas.
But they had, some of them had really low max out of pocket, some of them threw the whole kitchen sink at you.
Yeah, $1,000 maximum out of pocket. Some of them give you $3,000 worth of dental, and these aren't D-SNPs.
Okay.
So,
So
it's really a no-brainer there.
$1,000 back out of pocket,
That's
$3,000
insane.
dental, like,
So that's
why wouldn't you write that?
take into
But
consideration.
this,
It's, with this example is Mississippi. So in Mississippi, yes, and especially turning 65, whenever they're in their open enrollment and do want a lean supplement, the equation changes if you go to a different location or if they're a different age.
Yeah.
Say, if they're paying $250, that's when things start to change. But
That's a good point.
yeah, I'll turn it back to you. Robert.
But I always present it because I always joke and say, I want to tell you about this, even if it's not something you're interested in, because I don't want you to walk out of here and talk to, your friend or see Joe Namath and say, well, Steven didn't even mention that to me. It must not be no money in it for him. It's a zero premium plan. He doesn't make no money selling. Well, I probably make more money selling you that plan. But, I know that a MedSup's going to be better for them, and I would rather have my grandmother on a MedSup, and
Yes.
and that's what I tell them.
that's another one I use, like if they're hard on the MAPD, I just say, if it was up to me and you were my grandmother, I would put you on this, or grandfather or whatever, I would put you on this
That's the
Medigap
hard
plan.
close.
Yeah.
So one other tool I got to avoid an objection to a supplement, and they're leaning, I said, do you plan on traveling? Most people, when they retire, they want to go travel.
Yeah, this is good.
You need to go with a supplement if you're going to travel, because the doctor availability, anywhere they take Medicare, they take this. And that's every time I do that, it's done. Because they want to travel.
So I wanted to take a lot of time on this, and we're going to kind of cut through some of the presentations. I know we've kind of gone long today, but I wanted to make sure I knew you were going to be here.
This is the best I've seen.
So this is something, you take this and you make it your own. But let's just cut through. We've done the rapport. We're best friends now. My wallet's coming out of my back pocket, that kind of thing. But at the end, how do you transition now to ask for the applications? Like, how do you, you feel like I'm good to go, you've answered my questions. How do you transition to get them on the screen, like to start putting the apps in?
So the whole time I've been saying, sounds good, right? And the way I come up with these numbers is, as we're talking, I'm putting in application quotes. Like, for example, if I'm using a portal that lets me quote on everything at one time, and there's a certain carriers that will let you do that, I'm automatically putting all of this in for example, let's just say we're using Aetna. So at that point, I can do everything that right here with Aetna if I wanted to.
That's a great point. Say that again for some of these new guys.
So with Aetna, I can literally do everything. And if they're taking 2 meds, I automatically know that I'm putting them on a $7.30 drug plan because they don't need a $24 or whatever kind of drug plan. So that's the yeah, it depends on the medicine. But anyway, long story short, you can do everything in one portal. And I get all those quotes, I put it in the shopping cart, it does the math for me, it gets my total for me. And the way that I get them to see these prices itemized without it being an objection, because it could be, is that I'll say, you know how your group coverage has a payroll deduction and you get one amount taken out of your check for your insurance? I said, we're doing the same thing, we're combining different products, and I'll do it just like that. So Mr. Billy, we're combining different products, and so like on your group coverage, you know, you have one amount taken out, right? This is the same thing, it's the same total, however, it's coming out of your bank account itemized. And that's actually a good thing for you because you can track every single thing.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Makes
All right,
sense.
so I'm going to go ahead and get this process for you. The only thing I need to move forward is I need to get a security question and I need to get your banking info. So, Mr. Billy, I'm going to set up your security question. What is your mother's maiden name?
I think it was Flabbergaster.
Can you spell that for me?
It's like German or something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So.
All right. Okay. And what bank are we going to be using today?
Bank.
Yes, sir.
Nobody said anything about a bank.
All right. So let me explain.
Okay.
So, for one, you can see here that we do have to make a payment, and I can't take all this out of your Social Security check. Now, a lot of times, with all the major parts of Medicare, they can deduct it directly from your Social Security income.
Okay.
However, this is through private insurance carriers,
Okay.
which is even a good thing. So we have to set it up on bank draft.
Okay.
All right. So, do you have any kind of phone bills or anything that you pay on bank draft?
I do. I have several
Same thing.
things. Okay.
Same thing.
Okay.
So, what bank was that?
Let's see. Babe, don't we use, I think we use Bancorp South or Bancrop South or something like that. It's one of those. So let me stop here. The reason you do that is because you're going to get people that do that. The more confidently you ask for the banking information, the easier it's going to be for you. Don't look nervous and like you're sweating bullets, right? I just say this, to go in and get this set up on, I say electronic situation. To get this set up on electronic situation for you, which bank do you use for things like this again? Quiet. Oh, let's see. You see what I'm saying? So see how his method works for him. Mine's a little bit more stripped down. Let me say it again. Hey, Mr. Billy, you know, for me to get started today, I just need to go to get this set up on electronic situation just because that's the way they keep the rates lower. Which bank do you use again for things like this? You see what I'm saying? The more confident you ask and don't do that, the easier it is to get. Does that make sense? Right, you know that already.
It's funny you said again, like you had already primed them to do it or something.
Well, I just say, like, what bank do you guys use for things like this again? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, and sometimes it's easier for them to digest. I mean, I had that one guy, he freaked out on me, but, you know, he hadn't done anything on Bancroft in 50 years, so he thought, you know, I was the Antichrist for asking that. But you're going to get some of that. So you got to
do it like Stark does, where I ask the security question.
Makes
And I
them
just
feel
go,
safe.
yeah, like you're already doing the app, and then you ask for the what's your routing and account
last
number.
thing I ask is the security question.
Okay.
I say, you know, Mrs. Jones, since we're doing all this electronically, we're not going to have you sign any paperwork, but to put your signature on the application, we're going to answer this simple security question. What's your mother's maiden name? And they're usually like, hey, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well,
And they
I'm saying,
tell you, you
I
know.
ask for the exact. I ask for something. So like, what is your Medicare number? And I just start putting it in.
So let me make this very clear on camera. Make it your own. The bottom line is if you're bundling
Get them answering questions.
and you're covering your clients, that's all it takes. Here's what I say, just to give you another one. I don't do the security question in front either. I do, which bank do you use again for things like this, Mr. Billy? Great. Oh, and you know what? They have me in this COVID era we're living in now. They're asking me for a security question. This is how we're going to sign off on this today. What was your mom's maiden name? You see the difference? So mine works for me, works for Zach, Stephen, and Stark. So make it your own. Let me say mine again just in case, okay? Mr. Billy, in this COVID era that we live in, you know, this is they want to keep all the signing down, and they're just asking me for a mother's maiden name so I can get this signed off and get this processed for you. See, I just make it simple. I relate it to something that's going on now, right? So everybody has a different method, but ultimately the proof is in the pudding. The old guy in my church used to say. There was an old guy in my church who used to say a lot, by the way, if you didn't know that, okay? And the bottom line is this, okay? Are we protecting the client? Are we fact-finding? Are we digging? Are we not just letting, are they leading us, or are we leading them? It's really what it boils down to. And the best salespeople make the people in the other chair believe like they're really in control, but the whole time they know where they're going to go in their presentation, no matter what they bring up. Does that make sense? So that was good. That was good.
How early do you ask for how much they're paying on group coverage?
I do
Right away? How early?
How early? What part?
Oh,
That's a discretion thing, so it's situational. But sometimes I'll start with it, sometimes I don't. It really doesn't matter. You can address it head on, because then it puts it into context that it's about the same or
Usually
less.
that's what I do. I ask, and they usually say, yeah, I'm retiring. And you say, well, how much are you paying for your group? And you find that out, then I say, I'm going to build you out a plan that's going to work similar.
Yeah, I use the mirroring trick that I do, where I try to mirror what I said.
Stephen,
Build out a plan that works similar, and you know what their limit is because they're paying this right now. And you just build it out. And if you say, oh, this is more than what they're paying, I need to take something off. That's usually what I do.
So I want to hear why you do yours immediately. Just give it a perspective, if you don't mind.
Yeah, because I mean, my initial thing is I'm fact finding. That's a big fact, right? I have to be at the same amount or lower than what their group coverage was, because they're expecting, oh, now, I've been paying into Medicare my whole life, and now I'm trying to get that down. So, that's part of my rapport building. I'm asking them where you've been working, how long you've been working there, are you both on that plan? Because I'm trying to find out about the spouse too. If they're there, I'm trying to find out as much information as I can about her, because most likely she's 6 months or a year younger, and she's going to be a client pretty soon. And so I'm trying to find out as much about both of them. And part of that is, how much are you guys paying? Well, then again, if they're both on that plan, well, now I know I got to find her a plan. So I'm going to write her an under 65, plan to get her for the next 6 months or so. So again, I think it's just part of that fact finding in the initial, sit down.
I actually learned that from Stephen, and I actually do it, and I didn't even think about it, because we just went straight into it, but I do that.
Well, and here's the other thing too, and there again, just to give a totally different perspective, I rarely do it. You see what I'm saying? And it's not because I don't think about it. It's because sometimes, to be brutally honest here, and I know we're not supposed to say that, but I will today, and I'm still getting Marshall Silver pre-programmed, okay? Is because a lot of times that I'm just very confident in what I'm going to present, and just know who I am, in the sense is that I'm the authority here, okay? And then sometimes it's because I'm not as detail-oriented as some of these other guys. Stephen's very detail-oriented. You have a lot of detail-oriented. I think you're even more detail-oriented. I'm not. The point I'm making is that there's not just one correct way that somebody has the exclusive on it. All these guys are selling like crazy because they're using their 10, what they have that are 10s, and they're using it to get this. You understand what I'm saying? So we all have different perspectives. The reason I bring it up, and you know this because you've been in sales, and Jackson, you've been in sales, and Holt, you've been in sales before, is you got to find what your 10 is. If you're more of an information guy, don't get lost in the weeds with information, because then you'll kill a sale. But use it to your strength and advantage. What I love about Stephen is, when I listen to Stephen, I got people sitting in my office going, man, these would have been perfect for Steve-O. You know what I mean? Because all I hear is blah, blah. I hear that Charlie Brown, you know what I mean? That's what I hear. Sometimes. I'm being real, because that's not my 10, is to go to market analytics. That's Stephen's Disneyland. You know what I mean? You talk about market analytics and ratings, and Stephen's like, I'm like, oh no, right? I mean, for real. So you got to find what your 10. It doesn't mean you don't learn those things, but lean into what you're good at. Okay? Stephen's good at that. That's why we call him the Medicare professor, right? I'm just good at preaching Medicare. You understand what I'm saying? We're all gonna have revival and catch the Holy Ghost, Megan. That's for Megan, right? So, but the reality is that lean into your 10 and hold whatever you're good at. Find it. If you lean more towards Stephen's approach, you need to go camp out with Stephen for your whole time here until he goes to the new office. Yeah. Right? If it's more like Starks, you need to go camp out there. If it's more like Zach's, I recommend a healthy diet of all 3 or 4, but you need to go lean into what you're good at. Okay? Jackson, does that make sense? Any questions before we wrap this up? I know we went a long time today.
Well, this is like the
probably the 10th time Stark showed this to me, so I'm
Okay.
starting to get it pretty good.
Now, this is a sheet of paper.
And he has you scheduled for Friday to show you one.
Yeah,
more time.
absolutely, yeah.
I draw this out on this, by the way, and I send them home with this, and I actually highlight what they get,
Yeah.
the prices. That way they'll have it.
Yeah.
And they'll,
I know we're running out of time, is I would recommend this to anybody watching the video, wherever you're at, get with people that are already successful, right? Let's put the commission breadth on the shelf. Let's put the commission stuff, and let's get somewhere and get that grounding and that base. We have seen the agents that are most successful here in this agency, and these guys would agree, are those that humble themselves and go learn and get that foundation, okay? And then they go out and start taking massive action in the selling. I would recommend that for some of you new guys out in the field or whatever. Don't be scared to humble yourself for a few weeks and just learn it. Learn the lingo, learn the different presentations, take massive. That's what I did when I first came here. And listen, I'm a very independent, high D personality guy, but I went and sat and listened because I wanted to have the best foundation. And I struggled early on. These guys will tell you that we're here. I struggled early on.
I think Rob sat with me more than anybody else.
Yeah.
But it was good, worth it. I mean, it was good.
It was good. It was worth it because, and I won't get the award out, but but it was worth it. No, seriously, I humbled myself because Stephen had what I needed to be successful. You understand? And now I'm successful because I humbled myself at the feet of Stephen, if you will, and said, "Hey, Steve-O, teach me, man, teach me. I'm struggling here. Or I'm not struggling. I'm struggling. I'm struggling here." And now I've been able to have success because of that, and I do that for others, right? I'm paying it forward. So, anyhow, hope this video's helped. Thank you, Stark, for sharing that today. I hope all of you guys are encouraged by this and learned a lot from it. Have a great day.